I think another thing why we're like really excited about you having here, I'm Cheryl, by the way. I cha-cha, samba, rumba on Dancing with the Stars for 15 years. And I'm pretty messed up.
I know who you are too. I've followed you for a long time. It's a pleasure to be here with you all.
Thank you. Are you from the Bay Area?
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Bay Area.
I'm in New York now, but
okay.
Yes, I am California all the way.
Love it. I think we really, for me at least, I'm so excited to have you on because the three of us, we are sober, and AJ and Renee, they are in the AA program. Yeah. I've been battling between like, do I go, do I not go? We've had discussions, open discussions here on this podcast. So, and I know, I guess just maybe the first question would be like, what is your take on, the program, and have you, I know you've been a part of it for, was it a short time, or was it like in the beginning of your sobriety? So maybe talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I did not go to AA for 6 months while I was trying to get sober. And then actually on my first day of sobriety, so I stopped drinking on April 14th, 2013. And then on April 15th, I went to my first meeting at lunch because I had run out of reasons not to. Mm-hmm. And it had a very solid place in my experience. It made it very real. And I think that is so important, which is walking through that door to make something so real and touching it. And it was lifeblood. And I also had started out my process with a very different framework. I read a lot of different books, and a lot of books that were critical of the system of AA, a lot of books that were really critical of blaming people instead of alcohol or marketing or systems. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I went in I wasn't as impressionable, I guess I would say. I had done a certain amount of research and also had a different experience. Right. And so I think I went in probably very open, but also just not fully absorbing it the way that I imagine I would have if I went in 6 months before. And so there was that skepticism. And then I just had a very strong experience coming into it. I knew that I wanted to quit drinking, and I knew I would get sober. And then I started having this experience of people telling me things that were really threatening what felt like my recovery. Like people telling me that I would drink again if I didn't get a sponsor, that I was just playing around with it and I wasn't taking it seriously. And I was taking it very seriously, just not in the way that made sense to a lot of the individuals in the groups I was going to. And so about 3 months in, it felt like it was not my path.
People are relating to your path, the more the merrier. It's, because
clearly they are. Chrissy Teigen related to it, right? I definitely do. I see some, similarities as far as, the way that I'm recovering currently. Mm-hmm. But also I think it's just important to get the word out there because there isn't just one way. Everyone has their own journey. And obviously, you just take it. I do believe you take it one day at a time, and whatever that may be. I think as long as you're present and you're aware and mindful of what you're doing, as far as trying to make yourself better every single day, and how it's going to be an everlasting, long process. It never stops. You don't graduate and you're like, okay, I'm done. Like it's an everyday thing. Yeah. And just to like what we're doing on this podcast, just bring awareness out there, and what you're doing with your book. And I love that Chrissy Teigen totally, talked about Quit Like a Woman, and, obviously getting the word out there like that. And your podcast, I keep going back to it because it's really fascinating. I was listening to it for like 4 hours yesterday.
That's so funny.
I was like, 2018, what the hell? For sure. I did.
It's been a while. It's been like some of that stuff is so outdated. I wish. She and I are still friends, and only because we stopped podcasting. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
You guys talked about addiction though, and we were talking to a therapist who I knew on this podcast about like, am I an addict? And there's a few people in my life that don't think I'm an addict or whatever. Yeah. I think it's a self-diagnosis, and I think I am, and I think that is just for me to decide. But you can talk a little bit about that, because you did mention it in your podcast, and I thought it was fascinating.
What specifically on how you diagnose?
Labeling, like how you can't call people addicts.
Well, you're not. It goes to like when you look at the word alcoholic or addict, right, you're basically looking at something that has a lot of weight. And like one of the studies that I reference all the time is that employers, there was a study that was done, and employers are 64% of employers said that they wouldn't hire somebody that has a history of addiction versus 25% a history of mental illness. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting because I have worked with investors for years, and they all know a lot, like my belief system. And then I like had this conversation with somebody off the cuff, and he was talking about how he had this drunk that he'd never hire again. And so I think there is such a large amount of stigma that's still attached to those words. And so that, like, the correct definition is substance use disorder and alcohol use disorder. And when you are referring to like, we have our own, we are allowed to call ourselves whatever we want, but I do find it when people, I don't identify as addict and I don't identify as alcoholic. Now, and
do you think that people hiring, it would make a difference to them if you said, I'm an addict, or I'm an addict in recovery, or I have substance abuse disorder that I've addressed? I think it would make a difference that.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I definitely do. But I also think it's far more about what I was trying to talk about or point to is that there's quick associations we make in our mind. Because
I'm not in the program, I think there's a little bit of shame maybe that's going on in my body, where I'm like, am I really being sober, or am I just, you know what I mean? Like, I hate the labels. Like, I hate it. Like, I credit myself, and I'm proud of myself for maybe finding a different path, but a path that works for me, and it has worked. I've been sober for almost 2.5 years, and I don't even think about alcohol. I don't even want it. It was a decision, and that's my personality. When I make a decision, I make a decision. Yeah. And you can drink in front of me all you want. It's not going to affect me. Yeah. But then I do question, like, after being a little bit more educated because of my time with Renee and AJ about the program, because, like, AJ, I don't want to speak for you, but, he went through us being sober for like 6-7 years, but he wasn't in the program. And I think the word for that is like you were abstinent, or
I was basically a dry drunk.
And moving here to Los Angeles, not understanding anything about mental health, and just wondering, like, what the hell, like, why are my thoughts going like so dark, and not understanding our system, our intelligence, right? And knowing, we're not our thoughts and all of this. And then all of a sudden I was like getting all these weird feelings, and then I was like, oh, okay, I was drinking my pain away. Numbing, and dance has also been a huge thing in my life, which is another type of numbing, but a healthy one. And I guess I want people to know that maybe there are other ways of being of recovering. It doesn't have to just be one way. So